Look at the time now.
Hey!
Gather up the book, pop in the DVD, sit back and enjoy the super awesome BVM. How's it going, bookworms, filmsters? I'm Katana, and welcome to the first ever BVM double feature. Can I get some party noise around here? Yeah, that works. But anyways, yeah, this special in particular actually gone through a lot. Meaning, it was supposed to start at 100 subs, but ever since Coraline blew the hell up, 2.5k seemed like a reasonable deserving of a win. And then the real world caught up to me. I had to deal with some stuff backstage, but now it's all over. Thank you for waiting. But I saw that I was getting close to 3k now, and I was like, why the hell not? I mean, I might as well do it now and not delay it before any other shenanigans start to appear. So yeah, that's the situation. We're going to be doing Charlie and the Chocolate Factory today, and most of the comments that I've gotten have been saying, alright, but which movie? Which one? Tim Burton? Gene Wilder's version? We're going to be doing both at the same time. A little clustering, right? We'll get to that road when we get there. But yeah, I've been rambling on enough. I really want to say I apologize for a delay, and I apologize for rambling on now. So why don't we get started? Let's begin with one of Roald Dahl's most famous works, Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. So for the people who have not heard this story before, let me give you a little rundown. It revolves around a boy named Charlie Bucket, who comes from a family struggling with poverty. With 2 parents, 4 bedridden grandparents, and 1 paycheck supporting them all, it's not at all a pretty life. One day, Mr. Bucket announces from the newspaper that the world famous chocolate maker Willy Wonka is reopening his factory to the public after 10 years, specifically to 5 lucky kids who find the golden tickets hidden inside his Wonka candy bars. One by one, 4 of the golden tickets are found by very unique and highly despicable kids, while Charlie juggles with his chances and hopes of actually finding the ticket for himself. But on the day before the challenge is over, Charlie finds $1 in the street and uses some of the money to buy 2 Wonka bars, and by a miracle, he finds a golden ticket. He runs back home to show it off to his family, bringing his grandpa Joe to life and becoming an escort for Charlie. What awaits at the factory is a magical visit Charlie will never forget. Nothing but hopes and dreams for this story. Nothing but hopes and dreams. So, tell me, who are the characters for this one? Our protagonist is Charlie Bucket. Although poor, he's very kind-hearted and polite, and he likes chocolate. How much does he like it? Well, just as much as this guy. Chocolate! Chocolate! Willy Wonka is the clever and brilliant chocolate factory owner as described. I mean, after all these years, he brings the world a whole sweepstake that will get people to buy more of his chocolate ASAP. A brilliant business tycoon if I ever seen one. He's also very energetic, high-spirited, and pretty blunt when it's called for. If the kid's mumbling too much, he'll tell him to stop. If a parent's being annoying, he'll snap. He's just that kind of guy. The Bucket family is pretty easy to cover. Mother's loving, father works at a toothpaste factory, grandparents are old. The only one who really makes a big impression in both the story and my heart is Grandpa Joe. This guy has the most energy out of all the other grandparents and is so supportive of Charlie. My favorite scene by far is definitely the one where he spends his 10 cents to buy Charlie a Wonka bar in hopes of getting a golden ticket. And when they don't win, they just laugh it off and eat chocolate. Someone seriously needs to give this guy an award for being the best damn grandpa of the year. And then we have the other winners. Augustus Gloop is a pudgy boy who ate a ton of chocolate to get his ticket. Veruca Salt is a spoiled rich girl who didn't find the ticket on her own. She had her father buy so many Wonka bars, making his workers look for it. Violet Beauregard is an obsessive gum chewer who talks way too much for her own good. And Mike TV is a rowdy boy who watches way too much violent TV. Sometimes I like to imagine that the other winners were, you know, not so crappy. And if that were the case, who'd win that? There's really more good than bad about this book. The characters are fun and over the top, the description of the factory and all the crazy ideas Wonka has made over the years are unbelievably creative. Even pointing out the different traits of what makes a rotten child through rhyme. Except Mike TV. I mean, it's one thing to say too much TV is bad, but following that up with the whole preaching about reading books is a little too much. And there's no way I could talk about this book and not mention the lost chapters. Yeah, hard to imagine what was going through Dahl's mind in the first couple of drafts. These chapters were deemed as too dark and effed up for a children's book. One was titled Spotty Powder, where a headmaster and his daughter, Miranda Piker, try to destroy a machine that produces sugar candy capable of making fake chickenpox that would make kids miss school. They go away from the group only to have their laughter be mistaken for screams, and Wonka makes a really sick joke about turning the two into powder. Yeah, that was definitely written, people. And there's the one titled Fudge Mountain, which actually makes a cameo in the book by just being mentioned. In summary, these two kids, Tommy Troutbeck and Wilbur Rice, get caught up in all the excitement and all the fudge and find themselves in the fudge cutting room. I think that alone pretty much explains why it didn't work. So why push it any further? But through trial and error, Roald Dahl creates a classic story that is still remembered and parodied in today's time. The Wonka Factory and its legacy will truly live on. And that should be enough for the book portion. Alright, now, we are not going to be reviewing just one, but both of the film adaptations for this story. Yes, that includes the 1971 film and the Tim Burton version. I thought long and hard about how I was going to go about doing this, and this is the final result. Could be bad, could be good, could use some work for future specials like these, no promises. But yeah, I'm just gonna shut up now so we can talk about chocolate. Let's begin. So, both movies actually begin showing off the production of chocolate, and it's interesting to see how the tone of these movies are going to feel just based on the first couple of minutes. One movie's going to feel magical and whimsical, while the other one has the Burton feel down. Weird, dark, and a little bit more serious. Now, of course, the Burton film makes it all feel like a legitimate industrialized factory, but it certainly does not make me think, where in the hell can I get some of those chocolate wafers right about now? But it's good to know that the Burton version starts off with narration, something the book did have. We get a look at our hero, Charlie Bucket, and the kind of home he lives in. With the other film... Who can take a rainbow, wrap it in a sign? Did I forget to mention this movie is also a musical? Yeah, don't be surprised if I cut more into the Burton film. The less songs I show, the more ass I can cover from YouTube copyrighting more of my videos. Aside from that, we see that this Charlie is a hard-working paperboy because for some strange reason, his dad is presumably dead. The Burton film got that covered with the whole toothpaste background, but for this, he's just not there, giving Grandpa Joe to play the secondary father figure. But hey, at least it gives this kid some character development. And yes, that is taking a jab at Burton's Charlie. Freddie Highmore's portrayal of Charlie is just how you imagine Charlie from the book. A kid brought down from the heavens who doesn't do anything wrong. And trust me, this is just the beginning. After a hard day's work at the newspaper biz, Charlie comes back home, bringing the old folks with joy.
Is this your supper, Grandpa?
Well, it's yours too, Charlie.
How about this?
Charlie, where'd you get that?
What difference does it make where he got it? Point is, he got it.
Yeah, Mrs. Bucket. He could have got it with his hard-working cash or helped the man and his monkey steal it. The point is, he got it. After hours, Charlie is up with Grandpa Joe as they talk about the Wonka Factory, and I give props to Burton's film because with the latest CGI, the stories become more vivid and shows just how incredible this Wonka fellow really is. Take for instance the Indian Prince and the Chocolate Palace. I mean, look at that detail, that texture of all the chocolate walls. Now look at the chocolate melt. Look at these terrified faces about to suffocate from gallons of dark chocolate. Why, thank you for that technology. I needed that. Seriously. I needed that. Then there's actually a new story implemented about Grandpa Joe working for the factory in his younger days. Gives more of a reason why he's more suited to follow Charlie to the factory. But both movies and the book conclude the stories with the increase of spies, eventually closing the factory down. The 1971 version puts more emphasis on this by mentioning just one of the main competitors, Mr. Slugworth. And as the two Charlies sleep it off, neither were prepared for the next day. Magic comes at midnight as the Wonka trucks are dispersing the candy, and the next morning, Charlie and the crowd learn that Mr. Wonka is opening the factory for the first time in 10 years, inviting 5 kids who win golden tickets. And although the craze to look for the tickets in Burton's film seems a little unorganized, there's no doubt that the 1971 film treats us like it's the end of the world. I mean, Charlie hears the news during school with all the kids going crazy and school actually closing down for the day. But it's not just the kids, the adults are going insane for it as well. Take this scene with the man and his therapist.
But I dreamed the archangel appeared and whispered into my ear and told me where to find a golden Wonka ticket. Well, what difference does that make? This was a dream. I found out.
Shut up, Hofstadter, and tell me where the ticket is.
I see. You're having mommy issues, are suffering from panic attacks, and reoccurring sexual thoughts about your cousin Isabella continue to haunt you. Yeah, I still feel this all comes back to the golden ticket. So for the moment, 2 of the golden tickets have been found, the first one being Augustus Gloop. There really wasn't anything distinctly different about him in both versions. We all knew him as the fat German kid who didn't stop eating. I'd say Burton's version did stick close to him eating so much chocolate, while the 1971 version introduced Mr. Slugworth as some extra obstacle for the children. But for her second winner, Veruca Salt, the 1971 version got her down to the core of ultimate brattiness. She's screaming and throwing a massive tantrum at her obedient father about the golden ticket. Burton's Veruca is just not that loud and doesn't come off as bratty, just a girl with repressed anger. I thought it would be because she was just on camera and being a total flake, but even at the factory, she's still keeping a calm poise. But that first instance of seeing Veruca without a camera on her was just perfect to witness the demon child at her everyday life. Sorry Burton's Veruca, maybe you just need to add a little bit more voice to those stare downs of yours. Meanwhile, back at the Bucket household, Charlie's birthday has come around and he's given a Wonka bar. Just like the book, the suspense rises as Charlie opens up the bar with his parents reminding him not to bring his hopes up. Same for the 1971 version except for Grandpa Joe, who actually pushes Charlie to be excited. But as luck will have it, there's no golden ticket, and I'll give it to Burton's film that Charlie actually managed to get his family to take a piece of the chocolate.
It's my candy bar, and I'll do what I want with it.
And the search continues. Also, things get more outrageous with the world, like this one man who actually invented a machine that would locate the tickets.
It says, I won't tell, that would be cheating.
Don't you just hate it when the thing you create completely turns against you? What a world we live in. Time passes and the next 2 golden tickets have been found. The third winner is Violet Beauregard, and this is one of the winners I was mostly conflicted to choose a side for. The 1971 version covered her fast-paced talking from the book and even pinned her as the daughter of a salesman, which would make more sense. Then you got Burton's Violet, who focused more on her obsessive trait, making her a crazed champion, which brings up an interesting issue. Is having too much ambition and focus a bad thing? Well, in Violet's case, she just wants to win the prize, and judging by her personality, it would seem she would do just about anything to get the win. So yes, too much ambition can be terrible, making Burton's Violet very interesting. And then there's the 4th winner, Mike TV, which I will say kudos to Burton on updating the character for this generation. Playing too much video games is more relevant since the internet has become the new TV. Now just throw out that cable box. Netflix and YouTube commands you to. With just 1 ticket left, there just doesn't seem to be much hope left in Charlie to win. And I don't care how well Burton's version covered the poverty situation with Mr. Bucket losing his job, this moment belongs to the 1971 version. Look how conflicted he looks when the 3rd ticket was found. Sure, you got Burton's Charlie building a toothpaste cap replica thing to show his love for chocolate, but there's no emotion to the kid. I mean, up to now, all I've seen him do is smile and gaze. But with the 1971's Charlie?
Well, in case you're wondering if it'll be me, it won't be. Just in case you're wondering, you can count me out.
And after this contest is over, you'll be no different from the billions of others who didn't find one.
But I am different. I want it more than any of them.
And my lord, that song, always pulling at the heartstrings.
Cheer up, Charlie, give me a smile.
Late at night, Grandpa Joe was still being the beacon of hope. Using what was left of his tobacco money, he buys Charlie another Wonka bar, but again, it's also a dud. Burton's film also did this, but it was done much quicker and not enough time to sink in the disappointment. In this case, I just side with the book, where they both laugh it off, knowing that they were okay with their chances being slim. We could have one scene like that, just one. Oh, okay. And the 1971 version just keeps on giving. Just when you think it couldn't be any more outrageous, I am just proven wrong.
They kidnapped my husband 12 hours ago. When are we going to hear from them? What do they want?
Go ahead, we're listening.
What did they ask for? Whatever it is, they can have it.
They want your case of Wonka bars. Miss Curtis, did you hear me? It's your husband's life or your case of Wonka bars.
How long will they give me to think it over?
No, I'm with you there, lady. Yeah, this is seriously some Sophie's Choice you got going on right now. It isn't long before it's announced that the last golden ticket has been found. This movie says South America, the other says Russia. It's funny because neither happened in the book. It was just used to cover the chapter about the family starving to death. Charming, right? Also, the 1971 version does it better because it lets the feeling sink into Charlie's mind that there really is no chances left. While in the Burton film, the news just comes and goes. So the next day, Charlie is feeling utterly disappointed, as best as he can at least, and walks home, only to find money on the ground. He uses it to buy a Wonka bar, while at the same time the 5th ticket winner is declared a fraud. And you can guess what comes next. I can't believe it. I'm so happy for you. Don't get me wrong, this is an overjoyous moment, but seeing as which Charlie wanted more, which one had a whole song dedicated to the sorrowness, which one had felt more down than the last, it's a no-brainer. For you, I say congrats. And for you, I say, you found the last golden ticket. I am so freaking happy for you.
Run for it, Charlie! Run straight home and don't stop till you get there!
So now both Charlies are running home, with this one stopped by Mr. Slugworth. And it definitely is worth mentioning because he's shown up with all the other kids and is extremely crucial to this plot. Case in point, he's promising the kids money in exchange for one of Wonka's inventions, the everlasting gulp stopper. But hey, it didn't faze Charlie in the slightest. He gets home to show off the golden ticket to Grandpa Joe, and all that excitement just risen him from the bed in over 20 years! That's freaking insane! But who cares? They won!
Good morning! Look at the sun!
They got a golden ticket! They're gonna see the factory! Ho ho ho!
We're not going.
Ho 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 ho. Burns Charlie! Why are you killing the mood?
We need the money more than we need the chocolate.
Oh, for the love of cabbage soup. This probably makes me sound like a terrible person for not agreeing with the idea of selling the ticket for money. It's not about that. This is a complaint in his character because Book Charlie wouldn't say such a thing. His insane love for chocolate would probably cloud his mind over what's morally right. But again, that replica really the only thing that expresses Charlie's love for chocolate. Also, I would imagine something like this being said from 1971's Charlie. You know, because he doesn't have a dad and actually has an understanding about work values, says he actually has a job. This really is just wasting time to show more of how great Charlie is. I guess the holy chocolate passing and various happy-go-lucky smiles weren't enough. Stop being such a diplomatic Boy Scout and just be a kid. The next day is the grand reopening of the factory. Everyone is standing like they're engaging in a ritual sacrifice, and it's odd how both versions stuck with just one parent when the book had both, all except Charlie. There's nothing wrong with sharing the blame in parenting. The gates open and they walk into the first song of this movie, and man, if it isn't the most catchiest tune you will ever hear for the rest of your life.
Willy Wonka, Willy Wonka, the amazing chocolatier. Willy Wonka, Willy Wonka, everybody give a cheer.
If this is your first time hearing this, then from the bottom of my heart, I apologize. Not really. The introduction is more than flashy and would have been a strong opening if the props didn't have their creamy faces melt away. They should have just gone with the 1971's route with a proper introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, here's... Any minute now. Any second. Hold on. There he is, the magnificent Mr. Willy Wonka. Totally not delayed in the slightest. First impressions are everything, and you get a glimpse as to how these two Wonkas are going to be. You can tell this one's going to be a real people pleaser. He goes up to the crowd, welcomes his guests. I mean, what's not to love about this guy? He's everything that the book made him out to be. And then you got Johnny Wonka over here, who's the exact opposite. I feel like he's doing all this for reasons out of his control. Like he wasn't even aware of the whole golden tickets thing until yesterday. I can understand why he's not pleased with the parents because that alone is a subplot we'll get to soon. But there's no reason to be disinterested with the kid winners.
Don't you want to know our names?
Can't imagine how it would matter. Come quickly, far too much to see.
We all know they're going to be pain in the asses, but at least pretend to like them for the moment. So as they're entering the factory, they are subjected to sign a very large contract to ensure Wonka's safety. And it's totally just. I mean, if the Cat in the Hat can make kids sign paperwork to have fun, so can Willy Wonka. Through crowded rooms and shrieking hallways, they arrive at the first stop, the chocolate room. And it's better to say it now and not sound like a broken record later on, the look in Burton's factory is breathtaking. I mean, with a 45-year difference between the two, it's a no-brainer who's going to look more advanced and can show off all aspects of the Wonka factory. And looking back at the 1971 film, things do seem a bit clumped and bunched up as Burton allows the candy to have their own free space. But that song though, pure imagination? Definitely a highlight.
Come with me, and you'll be in a world of pure imagination.
As Mr. Wonka gives information about the chocolate river and the pipes, he lets his guests have some free time, however they wish to enjoy it. Veruca then points out the little people working on the side as Mr. Wonka introduces them as the Oompa Loompas. And the 1971 film does it right, a weird looking character fitting for a weird name. This is just an everyday dwarf. But hey, at least we get to see Loompa Land for the first time. That's something, right? They live like Ewoks to avoid predators, eat mashed grubs, and worship a cocoa bean, which Mr. Wonka uses to get them to work at his factory. That's straight up business 101 for you. The explanation is just in time for the crowd to see Augustus fall into the river he was so happily eating from a second ago.
He can't swim, save me!
Lady, he obviously didn't give enough of a damn to even learn their names. Asking for help is way beyond hopeless. And it certainly doesn't help his case when he's looking at the pipes with pure ease. I mean, at least 1971's Wonka tried to give a damn. In the most sarcastic way possible.
Don't just stand there, do something!
Help, police, murder.
But that 1 second look is just beyond murderous. Insanity! When the 1971 Wonka freaked out, it was out of passion. Burton's Wonka just makes me feel really uncomfortable to be around. With no one helping, Augustus gets sucked into the pipe that leads into the fudge room. There's an Oompa Loompa song before it happens, and an Oompa Loompa song after it happens. I'll go more into detail about the Oompa Loompa songs in concluding thoughts, but for what I can say right now, the two versions are better than the book's way by keeping it short and keeping it catchy. After that farewell, Mr. Wonka arranges Mrs. Gloop to be taken to the fudge room to rescue her son. And the tour continues as they all embark on the pink seahorse Viking boat to sail down the chocolate river. And this becomes the moment where Wonka steals the spotlight from Charlie. You can show us the gag about the whipped cream and the fun ass ride that makes everyone question why isn't this at Universal Studios yet? But I don't think anyone asked for the history of Wonka's life. And to be honest, there's really nothing special about it either. His life isn't crazy or imaginative as you would assume. He's just the son of a dentist who just hates candy, especially chocolate. Very complicated drama, right? Anyway, that's pretty much Burton's ride. Now, I think we should see if the 1971 crew got to the...
Yes! The danger must be growing, for the rowers keep on rowing!
Mr. Wonka?
And they're certainly not showing any signs that they are slowing!
What? The flipping fuck? And you wanna know the crazy part? Those lines were from the book. I'm happy there was some accuracy to the scene, but Jesus. Let's just move on, shall we? Let's just forget about it. They reach the invention room, crowded with smoke, hairy Loompas, and explosive warfare candy. And it all loops back to the Slugworth plot of this movie by introducing the everlasting Gobstopper, a candy that can be sucked on forever. He gives the kids each one, making them swear not to share with anyone. But I see what you did there, Veruca, you sly little mink. Then he shows off the chewing gum meal. Violet selfishly volunteers for human trials by taking it out of Mr. Wonka's hands and chewing it to her heart's content. She gets through tomato soup and roast beef, but once she reaches the blueberry pie, she starts turning blue and blowing up. And at the time, it looks pretty convincing. But Burton's transformation is just crazy. I mean, anyone could just fear for their life if something that big just fell and suffocated them. No, unless it's your fetish. Then by all means, you do you and enjoy it.
Just weird.
After the songs have been sang, Mr. Wonka sends the parent to the juicing room so she can be properly squeezed. They continue the tour where we get, you guessed it, another flashback. Wow, this movie really loves its flashbacks, doesn't it? Willy Wonka tries chocolate for the first time and gets hooked for life. That's it. Meanwhile, the 1971 version is also trying something completely new that wasn't in the book. After licking some fruit off the wall, they visit the fizzy lifting drinks room with, as the name implies, drinks that will make you float into the air. Mr. Wonka explains how the drinks still aren't ready and take the tour elsewhere, but Charlie and Grandpa Joe sneak a drink floating to the ceiling. Seeing how both films took mini breaks before the next major incident, I'm siding with this particular scene because it gives Charlie more character. So far, Burton's Charlie has been overshadowed by the kids, even more by Mr. Wonka himself, and just blending into the background. Where time could be given to focus on our main, he just sets up Wonka to think back into his childhood. It's just so mind-boggling how this main character has dropped down to supporting cast. Oh, and if you're wondering, they get into trouble because the ceiling has blades. But that's okay, because they burp to safety. Bodily gases have never been so helpful. With the group back together, they reach the nut room, which I'm happy to see Burton using the squirrel workers as the book did. I mean, the whole golden egg thing was smart since the geese could have just stayed in one spot, but at first it was just weird. What, did you take a detour to Jack's Beanstalk on your way to Loompa Land? Impressed by the trained squirrels, Veruca demands one, but Mr. Wonka simply won't allow it, so she goes through the mini gate and attempts to get one. Yeah, a very key word right there. Waiting for the door to unlock, Mr. Salt watches as her daughter is judged as a bad nut and tossed into the hole of eternal garbage. When the gate is open, the next song is sang as a send-off for the father, who falls down the hole as well. There's really nothing more that I can say about it. They got what they deserved. With only 2 kids left, Mr. Wonka decides it's time to take a ride in a great glass elevator, showing off more insane rooms, like the shearing of the cotton candy sheep, or the hospital for burned doll victims. And look, they even snuck in the lost chapter about Fudge Mountain. If you listen real closely, you can hear the screams of 2 boys being diced into little brittle pieces. But then again, we finally conclude on Wonka's oh so tragic backstory. He's tired of living under his dad's rules and decides to leave. He visits one flag expo, calls it a day, and returns home, only to see his house literally move away. Seriously, how the fuck is that even possible? But aside from that, the elevator scene is great. It really shows just how expansive Wonka's factory is underground. And I'm sorry, but it just beats this thing by a landslide. It's messy, slow, and completely pointless. I kid you not, they could have just walked the distance.
If the good Lord had intended us to walk, he wouldn't have invented roller skates.
Ah, well, you got me there. The remaining survivors make it to the television chocolate room where they witness Wonka Vision, the groundbreaking invention that will push free sampling into a whole other level. Witnessing the giant Wonka bar teleporting to the TV, Mike gets the wild idea of treating this machine as a teleportation device and becomes a test subject, resulting in being shrunk. Now for this kid, I'm going to side with Burton's portrayal. I mean, it was already established from the beginning that he hates chocolate, so that was a real good stand against everything Wonka worked for. He was never impressed to begin with, so the fact that he calls Wonka an idiot for using this device for the sake of chocolate is pretty damn ballsy, and yet liking the fact that he got what he deserved for talking back. He really should have kept his smartass mouth shut. So, after the songs are sang, Mike and his guardian are taken to the taffy puller to stretch the little boy out. That just leaves Charlie as the last one standing. Mr. Wonka is ever so ecstatic and flies them both home using the glass elevator, looking over what has become of the other kids. But things aren't so easy in the 1971 film. Only noticing Charlie is the last one left, Mr. Wonka simply tells him congrats and to go home. Confused, they confront Mr. Wonka in his office, asking about the lifetime supply of chocolate, only to be caught up in a wave of anger about the contract being violated from the fizzy lifting drink incident. Grandpa Joe calls him a crook and leaves with the idea to sell the gobstopper, but Charlie doesn't have the heart to go through with it. Instead, he returns the candy, surprising Wonka enough to reveal the whole plan to prove Charlie's goodness. Slugworth, the gobstopper deal, it was all planned by Mr. Wonka. And I really like that. Definitely secures the trait of being faithful and trusting. So with no time to waste, they all head to the glass elevator, blasting through the roof and flying home. Wonka tells Charlie about giving the factory to him since Wonka's getting old, and the agreement is made with one big warming hug. And that, my friends, is the end to Charlie and the...
I'm not going.
No, Burton's Charlie. What you're supposed to say is, I will gladly accept this offer. Let's hug it out, bro.
I wouldn't give up my family for anything. Not for all the chocolate in the world.
Yeah, again, this is happening again. This is seriously happening. Are you serious? This is the only point where the movie really annoys me because it's just pointless. We all know how this ends. Of course Charlie's going to say yes, but because Wonka's background with his father issues isn't done, this movie can't be done. If this was an issue on Charlie's part, I wouldn't be mad. He's the main character, he gets to have that. But then again, the focus on Willy Wonka is too much to be carried over. It was never that interesting to start with, and it isn't that interesting to close the movie on. So I'm just gonna cover this up as quick as I can. Days pass and the Bucket family are living a happy life. With this in mind, they don't need the factory to enrich their lives, so what was the point of this movie? Anyways, Wonka meets up with Charlie on the streets, talk about family, giving the idea to go visit his father in God knows where. They meet up after so long, hug it out, and Charlie finally says yes to owning the factory. The fucking end. Now, with 3 forms to compete against one another, I had a good idea of doing the 2 movies first, then paying the winner against the book, which everyone came to see. So, starting with the 2 films, they obviously have different takes on the story depending on their style and theme. But for me, I just gotta side with the original all the way. Now don't get me wrong, just because I chose this movie does not mean that I utterly hate Burton's film. In fact, it's a lot more faithful to the book than the older version. I'll start with the music since I promised I'll talk about it more here, and to be honest, this is the only portion that I'll be neutral about. I love music in general, so it feels a little biased to choose which one was best because they both were pretty great. I would say though that's a little unfair. I mean, the 1971 version was written as a musical, and everyone knows that the main reason you go to see a musical is for the songs. The songs are downright catchy and are still memorable even to this day. I mean, I'm never going to forget.
Cheer up, Charlie.
And
in a world of pure imagination, take a look.
Then you got the Oompa Loompa songs that are honestly quite brilliant. I didn't mind how repetitive and the look of it was for the older version, but not only did these songs incorporate lines from the book into lyrics, but I like how personal they felt to each kid. I loved the tone of Veruca's farewell song being so chirpy and lively to a girl so rotten, and the rock song to Mike TV was a nice touch. Now I'll admit, there were some that acted more like filler than real lyrics. But at least none of the kids sang. I mean, you could clearly see the bad lip syncing.
I want to wear 'em like braids in my hair and I don't want to share 'em.
Then we got the kids, who again were not that bad. Each to his own for this. The only one I liked from the original was Veruca because that level of spoiled was very insane, but the other 3 were well done in Burton's film. I like the idea of making Violet more on the dangerously ambitious side than just a mere gum chewer, and updating Mike TV was also clever. And now I bet you're all wondering, well Katana, if you have so many good things to say about the Burton film, why choose the older one? Well, it just all leads up to what every reviewer and their mother already touched on when talking about the story. Yes, I am talking about the two main characters, Willy Wonka and Charlie Bucket. And my reasons for liking the 1971 film are the same ones that Roald Dahl just hated, because if you didn't know, he hated this film. And one of those reasons was that the movie put too much focus on Willy Wonka. Well, if that was the case, he would have had a freaking fit with this film. I mean, the whole backstory with Wonka just completely stole all the attention from Charlie. At least in this version, Charlie was still mentioned to retain focus.
Yeah, what about Charlie?
And one for Charlie.
Burton's Charlie just stood in the background the whole way, let the other kids get their comeuppance, and Mr. Wonka telling his stories through the use of multiple flashbacks. I would have been fine if everything was resolved within the factory, but since it delayed the inevitable choice of Charlie actually winning the factory, I completely lost interest. And I just gotta say that the whole story was just boring. I mean, couldn't we all just enjoy the mystery of why this guy's so crazy? Isn't it just fun to accept that there's no reason to explain how this guy's mind works, just that it is what it is? The whole family situation was so easy to understand that it could have been written as a bad sitcom.
One loves candy, the other's a very strict dentist. How will they ever get along? Check out the fall premiere of their new sitcom, Those Wacky Wonkas.
Only on Freeform. And then there's the other reason, the whole plot with Slugworth, which I'm sorry RD, but it actually worked to its advantage. I mean, the final trial to prove his innocence was just great. Anyone could just say, I'm a good kid, but actions always speak louder than words. Even Grandpa Joe was telling Charlie to give up the gobstopper to Slugworth, but he knew better. It gave us a better idea that even though he was ripped off and swindled, Charlie just couldn't live with ruining another man's life. And this movie had no focus on Charlie. That's absurd. And that's pretty much what I got for both movies, keeping my choice with the 1971 film. But now the ultimate question stands. Which one was actually better? The book or the movie? And again, I just have to side with the movie. A double win. As I said, Burton's film was probably the best adaptation to the book we've had so far, regardless of however you feel about it. The characters were better in the book, the rhymes were better in the movie, keeping them short and less preachy, and there was more description and ideas expressed in the book. The main thing I do want to talk about is Charlie, because just like in Burton's movie, the book's Charlie just didn't take any risk. That's fine if it's the perfect kid every parent wished they had, but to me, it's just not relatable. If you used to be a kid who followed all the rules and did as you were told, that's great. Nothing wrong with that. But it can't be said for everyone. Not everyone is perfect, and that's why I love the Charlie from the 1971 film. Specifically the fizzy drink scene, because that was the one moment where Charlie took a risk. His excitement over this amazing chance to visit the factory took over and joined his grandpa to break rules, making it more interesting than the book's Charlie and even that of Burton's. I mean, with that being said, it would make more sense to focus more on Wonka because there really wasn't much of Charlie to explore. That movie showed over and over again how holy Charlie was, denying factory-related things twice, which doesn't really emphasize his love for chocolate as the book stated. This Charlie, on the other hand, cried for his dying hope, took solo walks to think over his chances. The emotion this kid brought was convincing enough to cheer for our hero. But then he messes up, voiding the contract and being told to leave without any reward. After all that, he gives back the gobstopper, remaining the generous soul Charlie is known to be, and that's character growth right there. And this movie focused too much on Willy Wonka. So dumb! I wish Quaker Oats would have made a promotional deal with this film. At least a change in title would have been more fitting. But yeah, this is all I got. And I really do love how this story had two movies made for any kind of audience, because in reality, it all just comes down to taste. If you're a Tim Burton fan, love his dark style, love Johnny Depp, and actually want an adaptation that stuck close to the book, then go ahead and just love this movie. But for me, I'm going with the one that made the kid more relatable, more believable, and a performance that was just too charming and entertaining to pass by. And those are my final thoughts on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. And if you don't agree, well, read the book, watch both movies, and make your own opinion. Because honestly, this is a classic story that you should know. Also, one more thing. Oh wow, I didn't know my own strength. Anyways, I'm not a ripoff, and you know damn well what I mean about that. I'm Katana, and thank you so much for 3K subs. As we keep growing, this channel will keep on evolving. Better changes will be made, and I will try to not let you good people down. I hope you enjoyed the special. Have a nice day. Woo! I'm so strong! Hey guys, just wanted to say thanks again for watching this special BVM review and for 3K subs. It's so insane and you guys are freaking awesome. If you're new and this video convinced you, why not subscribe and stay updated for future reviews? Crazy for Roald Dahl? Well, why not check out my last review of one of his other stories, Fantastic Mr. Fox. Got a book/movie review you'd like to see one day? Well, leave it in the comments down below and I'll be sure to check it out. Meanwhile, I'm going to see how many Wonka bars I can get with $5. See you later. Bye!